I'm about to play golf across time and other space dimensions. What? So what do I mean by playing in different time and space dimensions? Let me try and explain. So what I'm going to be doing here today with this video is I'm going to attempt to play across dimensions of space. So there's a lot of different ways you can think of dimensions, but in this particular context, I'm going to be referring to one-dimensional, two-dimensional, and three-dimensional space. So two and three-dimensional space, you're probably already familiar with. It's three-dimensional space is what we all kind of experiences when we pop into a human body here and start experiencing it through our human senses of sight and touch and feel and smell and hearing. So three-dimensional space, like me here, on the grass, the water's over there, there's some tall weeds over here. The sky is up there. So I'm experiencing three-dimensional space. Two-dimensional space is more like this video, what you're experiencing me through right now in a way, at least visually. So it's like just looking at a painting. You can conceptually get a sense that there's depth here, but really like the video screen that you're watching this on is two-dimensional. Or if you're out on a golf course and say, this is my course guide, I pull it out of my pocket, or if it's your phone or something and you're looking to see how far it is to the green or the bunker or the hazard or whatever, and then you're looking at this and this screen or the course guide or whatever you're looking at, that's two-dimensional. So you're already probably kind of familiar with two and three-dimensional space. But what about one-dimensional space? One-dimensional space, how I kind of think about it and how I perhaps most easily experience it is if you go to a dark room or a closet or just somewhere where it's dark enough that if you cover your eyes, what you're seeing is if it's the same as if you uncover your eyes and open your eyes. It's that dark, so there's no light getting in. So take a minute and go to a space like that where the lights are off. And then I'm going to cover my eyes here so that I can experience that a little bit, at least out in the bright sun here. So when you sit there and look at it, you might think like, oh, it's black. It's pitch black, it's dark. But if you ever actually kind of look at it and see what is actually there when you look at this, when you look at the dark, or when you look at the black, at the pitch black, what is it? And it's a little bit different because I do have a little bit of light coming through, but I can still kind of get the same. I'm practiced this enough to still get the gist of it. So when I look at that, I don't see pitch black actually. It's more like this field of colorful, shimmering pixels that has no dimension or depth. So this is the one-dimensional space. And if you think about it like geometry, if you remember, I don't know if you had geometry in high school, X, Y, and Z. X is one-dimensional space. X, Y is you're looking at one plane and you can get X, Y coordinates. And then to take that to three-dimensional, you get X, Y, Z. So then you can have, say, define like a spiral or something. So when you're looking at it visually here, it looks like it's just kind of going up and down. But in three-dimensional space, it's going like forward and back too. So there's X, Y, Z. So we're all used to playing basically more or less in three-dimensional space. And then sometimes we'll use two-dimensional. But I don't know that anyone's ever tried, that I know of, to play in one-dimensional space. So, but interestingly, you can't actually entirely play in one-dimensional space because when you go into one-dimensional space, there's nothing there. There's just literally nothing there. You can't see anything. So when you are in that space, and then maybe if you're in a dimly lit room, very, very dimly lit room. So if you barely start to kind of like, if you hold on to experiencing this field of colorful pixels or whatever, and then you barely start to open your eyes just a little bit, the three-dimensional hologram that we experience as humans starts to take shape into that one-dimensional space. But interestingly, and it's a little bit challenging to do right now, and this is going to be the challenge of the day because I'm doing it in daytime and there's so much light and the three-dimensional is so intense. So attaching to one-dimensional space this is the first time I'm going to try this out on a golf course. So I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm going to try it. I've tried it in a city before. when I lived in Washington, D.C. This was the first time when I was really trying to all right, I can have this one-dimensional experience, and then kind of open my eyes a little bit, and then it starts to bring in the three-dimensional space. The eyes, it's an electromagnetic field of infinite possibility. So then when you start allowing your human experiences to turn this electromagnetic field into things that create an experience for you. So your eyes start to turn things into things that you can see, and then you can feel, and then you can smell. And then with hearing's a little bit different. So hearing, there's sound waves in this electromagnetic field too, that your ears also kind of turn into an experience to have, the human experience. But if you're trying to remove all this, if you ever go into a sensory deprivation tank where you're underwater, you're floating in salt water, so you can't feel anything, and if you sit there for a while, it allows you to help detach from your five human senses or whatever. So you don't feel things, you don't smell things, it's dark, you don't see things. So that's this space that we're going to be in. But when you're in this space, none of this is actually there. So maybe you've heard of that. There's science that talks about this, is there's more space there than there is stuff. There's an interesting video. It's from the 1970s where you see kind of like a drone view of someone picnicking on the ground here, and they're maybe 10 feet above, and it looks like a certain way, and then it goes to 100 feet above, 1,000 feet above, a mile or a kilometer above, and then it goes out to the Earth, the solar system, the universe, and at the very end of that, it looks basically like this one-dimensional space. And then if you zoom back in, and then you start to go, they zoom into a foot, and then right on top of the skin, and then you start to zoom into the cells, and then really zoom into the microscopic level, and then just keep going in and in and in and in. And then when you get to that, it ends up being this one-dimensional space of basically nothing as well. So what are we going to do with that? In one-dimensional space, you can't entirely play golf in one-dimensional space because there is no golf. When I'm in there, there's just this infinite quantum field of possibility. It isn't until I come into my human body and then start turning this field into something that it kind of becomes something. So you can't play golf entirely in one-dimensional space because there is no golf. There's no golf ball. There's no body. I don't have my body. It's just I'm just there with my maybe soul and my awareness. So you do need to play golf. You do need to exist a little bit in both three-dimensional space that we all kind of know, and it's very super, super, super compelling. But also I think, and all of golf is played around three-dimensional type things. It's like shot dispersions and course strategy based on shot dispersions and technique. And then it's all about the instruction, the equipment, the strategy, all these things are about how to operate in this three-dimensional space. But I think there's a way to play golf on another level, in another dimension, by bringing my attention or your attention or our attention or our awareness into the one-dimensional space, and then keeping enough focus on that, because in this one-dimensional space, there's no hole, there's no wind, there's no nothing. It's all one connected space. There's no weight to it. If it has a weight, it's all just one weight. It's all connected. So this is kind of what, when you talk about spirituality, the oneness. Or maybe The Matrix. If you've ever seen The Matrix, the movie, The Matrix, I don't see it as this green code on a screen or whatever. It's more The Matrix, at least in my view, is just this pixeled field, electromagnetic, colorful, shimmering, pixelated quantum field of infinite possibility. That's kind of that's the oneness. That's the thing that we all share. So right now, if I'm in that space, I am you, you are me, I, Jaacob, I am the I am, if you want to call the one-dimensional space the I am. In one-dimensional space, there's also no time. Remember, in geometry, one dimension is only X. So at any given point in one-dimensional space is just now. And now. And now it's always now. So there's never something in the past. There's never something in the future. It's all the one-dimensional space is always just now. So interestingly, when I started playing around with this a little bit, and maybe you experience some other two-dimensional things too. There's ways of perceiving two-dimensional things. So good, bad, black, white, short, tall, forward, backward. But even competition is two-dimensional. It's like either you're winning or you're losing. Again, we're all kind of familiar with this two and three-dimensional stuff, but we're not so much attuned to the one-dimensional space, even though that is something that's layered into it as well. And we can talk about other kinds of dimensions as well, but for purpose of this video, we're just going to stick to these 3 dimensions here, and I'm going to try to bring my awareness to the one-dimensional space while layering in just a subtle awareness, if I can, of the 3-dimensional space, because then golf exists. So I can play golf. So I need that. But if I'm in that, I think it's possible to do some really magical things. And this is the first time I'm trying this, so I'm going to be a beginner at it. So I might fumble with it. I don't know what's going to happen. But in one-dimensional space, there's infinite possibilities. So anything can happen. And remember, this is a way of, like, maybe in the space of miracles, in a way of, if you're in the one-dimensional space and start bringing in a little 3D, it's like the golf ball right here is, in a way, like the Zen master would say, I am the golf ball, I am the hole. And in this one-dimensional space, like, well, none of those things exist. But if you kind of bring your awareness to both of them, or all of those things, it's all connected. So I think there's a way, and our brains are putting off frequencies, and it's more about the subconscious. The subconscious stuff is more powerful than the conscious stuff. So I think it's possible in the space. When I started playing around with this, I could, and I don't know if I was just altering my perception, but I had an experience of being able to move clouds. So I wouldn't say, like, putting a cloud and taking it from here and putting it over here. It's more like if the clouds were kind of going across the sky a little bit, I could, like, bend them a little bit, and then they go this direction, then they go this direction, then they go this direction. And then as soon as I take my awareness off that, they just kind of, like, pop back to where they were and then just continue on. And that's also these kinds of things. This is like the visualization space, the manifestation space, this, like, where you hear about people, like, thinking, and I do this too, like, I'll think about, all right, I'm in New York City right now. I'm in Washington, D.C. Parking is crazy. But I think right now, like, say, we'll go to, when I was in D.C., I would practice at the University of Maryland College Park course, and I'd be there. And then I'd think, we lived in Northwest on 1st Street, and that street was jammed with cars all the time. So when I leave the golf course, I just kind of try and connect with this space, and I'd think about the oneness of it, and then I think about my car. I could think about the car pulling up to the space right in front of our apartment. And you wouldn't believe how many times that exactly someone would pull out, and I would pull right in, or I'd get there and that'd be the only space in the neighborhood that I would get. So there's a way, I think, that I've tried in other areas of life of playing with this, that I'd like to experiment with and explore. This is the exploration of me as a professional golfer and explorer. I'd like to explore, kind of like, I don't know, be on the frontier of just playing. Let me try and play around, just a quick little par 3 round, or as best as I can, I try and blur the space a little bit and then just play and allow. And if I'm gritting my teeth, I'm too much in the 3-dimensional space. I'm trying too hard. If I'm clenched, or if I'm putting too much effort into the swing, I'm too much into the 3-dimensional space. In 1-dimensional space, remember, there's no weight, there's no nothing, you don't have your body. And when you start to bring 3D in, then you can start to see, say, your hand. But then also, if you're aware of both of those, there's a path you can see almost through your hand, and so it's like a hologram in a way. So I think there's some good, interesting possibilities of playing golf in an entirely new and different way. And then with the sound also. So when you are you come into your human body, and your ears, your brain and ears turn the electromagnetic field. They turn the sound waves. You pick up the sound waves, and it turns it into something that adds to the experience. So when I was a kid, I remember I grew up on 33 acres in a trailer in rural Missouri. And then I was out in the yard one day, just laying on the grass, looking at the clouds, watching the different cloud shapes. Then all of a sudden I had this horrible ringing in my head, and like medically you would call it maybe tinnitus. I don't know if I've ever gotten diagnosed with having that, but I was like, oh my gosh, like how, and it just wouldn't stop. I was like, how am I gonna live with this? Eventually it just kind of becomes like white noise to me. So it's still there, but it wasn't until I was working with a spiritual teacher, and the spiritual teacher told me like, I was like, what is this? I don't want to do anything medically or take medicine or whatever. It's just like, and also I've learned to like live with it. But also I asked just out of curiosity, what's your take on what is this? And in their mind, in their view, perspective, they thought that I was picking up this one-dimensional space, and it's just, I was tuning into the hum of the electromagnetic field. So interestingly, I think that also when I'm tuned in like that, when I'm blurring the lines between 1D and 3D, and then I bring my awareness out of what I hear, like I hear the wind right now, I hear my voice, I hear these little critters in the grass here. It's kind of like shifting my awareness visually from 3D to like the 1 degree or one-dimensional hologram. For the sound, I got to get away from like, oh, there's someone hitting balls over there on the range or whatever, and I tune in a little bit to the ringing and the sound, the hum of the electromagnetic field, and that kind of tells me that I'm tuned in. And interestingly, when I'm in that space, I get a little bit better. I have a clairaudience, so it's basically like you can hear things, and I can get into that maybe in a whole nother video. And if someone has any questions about that, like feel free to post it in the comments or ask questions or whatever. So anyway, when I'm in that space is when I get my best. Sometimes I'm too caught up in the 3D in my human circumstances and experience to make it to really tune in. So I kind of need to get into this multi-dimensional space, and I get a little bit better feed when I try and communicating in that way. That's how I'm going to kind of gauge when I go out and play here in a second. Like before every shot, I'm really going to try to soften. The human experience is really, really dense and slow because you're limited by what you can do with your body. But in one-dimensional space, there is no here and over there. It's like it's all just one. You're already there. So the soul and the spirit is a lighter frequency, I guess. And when you're having a human experience, it's much more dense and slow. So when I go out there and play, I need to make sure, like when I blur the lines here, I need to try and check before I hit a shot as best as I can to try and make myself to feel the lightness of it, to feel the softness of it, to not grip my teeth, to not grip the club really hard, to not apply too much effort into the swing. It's more just being in that space, thinking about the ball being in the hole, and then just reacting softly to that, allowing it, not forcing, not trying, reacting softly, and just see what happens. So that's what I'm going to do. If you do have any questions, this is getting into like some really weird stuff, I guess, and things that people haven't really talked about or explored, I guess. But this is part of the fun and joy of it for me. So I may still play tournaments, but I'm more fascinated and interested in now what the focus of golf mastery and trying to break through systems that weren't designed to be broken through. Like I'm been given all these gifts to be, I think, a top 5, top 10 player in the world, but I was financially born into circumstances that you need money to do that. And I didn't have a wealthy family. I didn't know any people with money. And then even in these 20 years, everything I've tried to do to try and get around that, to have the financial resources to fully express myself as a golfer, I guess. But for whatever reason, that hasn't happened. Maybe that's just part of my life plan. And maybe that's not to say that it won't happen again. If you want to help out and you have the means to do so, please reach out to me. But what's interesting about that is it's forced me to try and, if I can't find a pathway through this system, but yet it's something I'm drawn to doing, it's something I love doing, it's something I want to do. How do I do it? And I've been forced to explore. That's this rebrand of me, Professional Golfer Explorer. Dig into all these different rabbit holes to try and figure out, all right, how am I going to break through this? And I started late. I started when I was 27. So there's a lot of like opportunities, I guess, for juniors now. But say you're an adult and you're 27 and you want to pursue a golf career, but you're starting as an average golfer, which is what happened to me. The only way I could get through that was to like fund it on credit cards, which is a stupid risk, financially speaking. But I believed in myself. It was what I wanted to do. It's the only pathway that I could see doing through that. And that was really hard. It took me probably 13 years maybe to pay off those to get out of that. But I do think it was worth it. And now looking back, now as I approach 50, I'll be 50 in a few months here, and that's going to open up some senior tour playing opportunities, Champions Tour playing opportunities. I'm still curious to play, but now looking back, like the joy of it that I've kind of discovered has been the exploration. And now I kind of I don't know if I want to say that I'd ever play I'll probably play tournaments again. I can still like do major qualifying. I'm still eligible to do all that. I do need financing to do that, but in a way my reasons for playing will be different. I'm not playing for the competition. I feel like I've kind of moved on from competition in a way, like graduated from that. And the joy for me is the exploration and digging in and being out. Like you look out, say, this is just the river here, but if this was an ocean and you don't know what's out on the ocean, but there's some people that are curious, like what's out there. So then you get a boat, big ship, you get a crew, you get some funding, and then you can go out and see what's out there, and you don't know what's out there. So that is kind of what, for me, like this exploration of golf mastery and trying to engage in this thing that I am drawn to and really love and enjoy. But then what is that teaching me, not only about golf, but about myself, about the world, about life itself? So this is the fun for me. I'm going to pause this and then let's go try and play across time and play in the now, play in the one dimension, try and stay present for each shot. If I need to pause before hitting a shot, I'll need to do that. Try to blur the lines of 2 and 3 dimensional space and bring awareness to 1 dimensional space. Pick up the sound of the electromagnetic field. Interestingly, when I get into that space also, the sky it has a sparkle. There's these, I can see like even right now, I can see the 1-dimensional space in the sky, but there's also these little, I don't know how to describe them. There's like these little sparks of white fireflies, little pranic energies, just kind of like popping in and out. Pranic energies of creation, I've heard it described as. So that's the space I'm going to need to be playing in. Very light, very balanced, very not attached to the results or what could happen, not worrying about what, you watching this is going to think. I really need to, not thinking about the camera, really trying to keep my attention split between 1-dimensional and 3-dimensional space, and then trying as best as I can to focus on, say, hole-in-ones or the ball being in the hole, and then reacting softly to that. And just and I think this is a way that you can kind of play. There's gust of wind, so this is a way to kind of find the little thread, say, through the wind, and to get it just right, and to gauge the up and the down and the distance, because again, in 1-dimensional space there is none of that stuff. So it's a way, I think, of playing and having miracles happen in a way. And regardless of whether or not miracles do happen, I don't know. I could hit some really horrible shots today, but I want to try it. This is the first time I'm trying this in the golf course, so I want to try it. I'm just going to turn the camera on here, allow you to see, and then we'll just see what happens. And I think it'll be worth, be fun to see what happens. But then also, I think that this is worth practicing and exploring some more. And just, this is another one of the little rabbit holes that I like to go down to. All right, let's head over to the first tee.
In the last video, I used kind of a dead hands turn. I don't really like the look of it so much, but it performs pretty well.
And in the last video there, I can look at the end of this. All my shots were basically right at the flag. So today I'm going to be using a little bit more of like a throw
small rock skipping motion. I like how that looks a little bit better, but I have to think about it a little bit more. So that's going to actually make it a little bit more challenging because I'll be having some awareness of my body. Each is 3-dimensional, but I need to be in a 1-dimensional. So this is going to be one of the challenges. I'm also challenged by, as I was coming to get all the equipment, my clubs and all the camera stuff out of the car, I smashed my finger. And then there goes someone jogging. Definitely still in it for a second here. So it's going to be interesting to get away from the 3D pain. Disperse that a little bit. Let that go. Get under tension. I'll try not to think about my swing positions. You might focus on
the hole. All right, let's give this a try here. This isn't the deepest of focuses here, meditations, I guess, but I am getting a little bit of I see some sparkle I see some of the pixels in the trees and on the green here, and the sky is sparkling. I'm tuned into my tone here, the tone of the electromagnetic field. But let's just get going here. Okay, we're off. So now I'm very much back in my 3D here because I got someone came up and talked to me on the first hole here, which was cool. Glad to help, but also that pulled me back into the 3D human experience. So I need to take a second to reconnect here, or disconnect, I guess, whatever you want to call it. The sky sparkles, the ear ringing, the tone of the electromagnetic field. Soften up a bit. All right. And interestingly, green reading is 3-dimensional because, again, we need some 3D because otherwise golf wouldn't exist, the ball wouldn't exist, my body wouldn't be here, the hole wouldn't be here. But green reading itself is very 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional if you're looking at a course guide or a green guide or something. So with these, I think what I'm going to try and do here is not read the green. Rather, I'm going to try and stay focused on that blur of 3-dimensional, 1-dimensional space and just try and connect with the whole that way. So kind of bring my awareness to the fact that in 1-dimensional space and blur in just a little 3D, I'm very much connected to the whole. I am the whole. I am the ball. I am the putter. In the 1-dimensional space, I am. So let's try and relax a little bit. I'm tense. So remember, there's a lightness. So I'm not going to worry too much or think too much about perfect alignment or whatever. Just think about the ball being in the hole and then just reacting to that. Really having a tricky time detaching here. I'm going to try and do my, again, this is the first time I've ever tried this. So I'm going to try and do my best. Not worry so much about score. Just focus on this. All right, so we're on the second hole here. The distance is a matter of 3-dimensional space, and I'm not focusing on 3D. Well, I need a little bit of 3D to create the game, but I'm trying to focus on the blur of the 1-dimensional and 3-dimensional, so not so concerned about what the distance is. More just gonna try and connect here, feel the connection and the embodiment of all that is here. So I need a second here again to focus. So there's the eye, the sky sparkles. Relax a little bit of tension. Pick up the frequency tone, the tone of the field. And the pin, from a 3-dimensional standpoint, is right on the edge of the green there. But I'm not going to think about that. I'm really instead going to connect with the hole and just think about maybe the hole. Relax, I'm a little bit tense. It's taking me a second to kind of get it here. I'm just gonna go and open up the club face just a little bit, I think. Relax. Gosh, I got a lot of tension I'm trying to get, and I feel my fingers. I got my smashed finger. All right, let me just go here. Focus on the hole. Oh, a little short. That might have rolled down there. Can't tell from here. I can't see it from here. All right, so here we are. if you do want some three-dimensional perspective here, I'm 6'2". So I don't know what these flags are, maybe 7 feet tall. So you can kind of tell about how far my putts are or how close I hit it to the hole based on the height of the flag stick here. I guess assume about 7 feet or so. So, but anyway, I'm getting away from three-dimensional space, so we're just blurring it out. On that first shot there, I did feel a little bit, I was having trouble focusing, but I tried. So, again, this is the first time I'm trying this, so it's a little challenging, particularly like I was saying in the intro, when the sun is so bright, it really illuminates three-dimensional space. So it's much easier when you're in the dark, I think, at least for me, at least at this stage, to get awareness to the hologram, I guess. But this is part of the practice here. All right, so tone, sparkles, soften up a little bit. Don't think about the line. So I'm trying to detach from any kind of three-dimensional space and line there, and just trying to focus on the one-dimensional space here if I can. A little bit of layering of the three-dimensional and just allowing. Okay. I don't know how far that was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, about an 8-footer. A lot of curve to it. Made it. That was cool. I like it. Okay, third hole here. Not thinking about whatever distance it is, because that's three-dimensional. So I'm not going to win a pace of play award here. At least not without some practice. So let me focus here, soften a little bit, catch on to the eye sparkles. There's different ways of lining up. So sometimes you can stand behind it and either hold your club up or draw a line between the ball and your club, and then pick out a spot here, and then come around and line your club up to the spot, and then line your body up. So that's one way of alignment. I have a little trouble sometimes when I do that, not obsessing about the alignment too much and not having my focus be on the target. So let's mix this up a little bit here. Just kind of do it as a look at the ball, look at the club, look at the target, intend to try and blur that three-dimensional, one-dimensional space. And I am not high, by the way. Maybe just high on life, I don't know. And that was scared. I barely got that to the green. That was scared of hitting it long. So I was definitely caught there in my human self, because I was very, very much fearful swing there. All right, so interesting things going on right here. I'm really wrestling with myself. This is much easier said than done in a dark room. All right, let me try and focus here again. I'm still caught up in my human body here. So, all right, I got the sky sparkles. I got the tone of the electromagnetic field, my tinnitus, I guess. All right, don't try and read it. Just try and get the blur of the space. I'm really having a hard time doing, because I'm really seeing a lot of the green here and not the hologram of the green, but I'm gonna go anyway here. I'm in it. But, this is part of the learning, part of the exploration, so it's okay when you're trying new things. Focus again. Sky sparkles, tone, blur. Don't try and read it. Just okay. So, par on the second ball there. 5 actual score. Not concerned about score right now. All right, number 4. Par, birdie, double so far. We're getting away from that. Coming to X, coming to presence, bringing awareness to the sky sparkles, the tone of the electromagnetic field. Soften up a little bit, lighten up. All right, let's try and go. Caught that a little behind the ball, so that didn't spin too much. You know, an interesting thing that happens when I am switching between swings there, that swing that I was using in the previous video, where it's just kind of like a turn, it's very simple and pretty consistent and accurate with that, but it's definitely not as powerful. So when I start like kind of throwing a little bit more, it's actively using the hands more, so there's more power with it. So I think that might have been part of what happened there on that last hole, is I flew that ball straight, but then it went completely flew the green. I've never hit one like that on that hole before. So either I could be, it's from blurring the or switching between swings there, like the dead hand swing or the throw swing that has more power. So that might have been part of it. And then, but also maybe I'm tapping into a little bit more alternative power. I don't know, by just relaxing and letting go. But granted, there I was really in my three-dimensional self there. So I'm trying to think about that as I go along here. This will be easier to assess maybe later once I get away from the course here and I can calm myself down a little bit better. Doing okay with this so far. X, presence, relax a little bit, wiggle out the tension, reconnect with the sky sparkles. You know, maybe I'm going to cover my eyes here for a second just to detach from the light again and just reconnect here with the colorful, pixelated, pranic energies of the quantum electromagnetic field. Think about the ball being in the hole, connect with that, and then react without trying. Okay, not an easy putt, not a gimme. Doing a little bit better this time, at least with those two putts. Okay, on to number 5. Okay, number 5 here. You know what? Maybe I am going to go back to, I'm going to switch again. Going back to like the Count Yogi kind of lineup where you look at the club face, look at where you want to go, line up the club, line up your feet, and then go. Although I had an extra look in there, but kind of going to pull a little bit of Count Yogi there into it. All right, give me 1 second to focus here. Sky sparkles, tone, tinnitus tone, soften, relax. All right. Okay, that was better. All right, I'm kind of back in 3D here. I'm like, really, I'm seeing a lot of green. There, the green is like really, there's no hologram here, so need to refocus again. Interestingly, I feel a breeze right now and it's kind of just blocking right into my body. So that's very three-dimensional. In X, in one-dimensional space, there is no wind. So if I can kind of like soften my body a little bit and have the wind almost kind of pass through me in a way, because that doesn't exist. And interesting, as I said that, I got a little bit of sparkle across here. All right, check out the sky, disperse a little bit, check my tone. Don't try and read this. Just stay as best as I can in this in-between space. Okay, where was that? So that was roughly here. 1, 2, 3, 4 footer. All right, and then you can kind of tell again, I'm 6'2". This is the flag, so you can tell based on the flag about how far my putts are. There we go, par. I blasted that putt a little bit. I don't know, it did okay, blurring the lines there. I feel like I could do a little bit better. I really like when the ball goes in and at a speed that can take advantage of the entire hole, but then it falls deep in the cup. So it's very, maybe it's approaching the edge here at 1, 2, or maybe 1 or 2 revolutions per second. So it falls deep and not like 3 or 4 or anything that would like lip out or go flying past there. So I really like to kind of almost die him in the hole a little bit more than die in the hole. So that one I hit there a little bit too firm for what I'd like, but the intention there was, the point here is trying to do 3D, 1D. Last hole here. All right, let's take a second here, see the sparkle of the sky, check my tone, maybe close my eyes for a second, feel like myself in my body a lot. So if I can close my eyes and bring awareness to one-dimensional space and disperse some of that intensity of feeling like I'm here, and let some of that go a little bit, disperse some of that. All right, I'm feeling a little bit calmer now. So let's go back to let's just do the Count Yogi way, maybe. Count Yogi-ish way. Club face, target, go. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. And I need a second to reconnect here. A little tense. Wiggle that out. Let's try again. Look like a little one hopper and stop. All right, this has been an interesting bit here. Point of this, playing multi-dimensional. So let me get back to sky sparkles, the sound of the electromagnetic field in the form of, I don't know, tinnitus, I guess. Soften a little bit. I'm gonna blur my vision again so I can connect to this a little bit better. It's so sunny and bright. Okay, and that one, you can't see the flag from that angle, but that was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 foot. There we go. Playing across different dimensions of space and time, I guess. So how did I do there? Effort, A+. I tried. Courage, A+. This was weird, I guess, and takes a little bit of courage to try and put something out here like this, and to also, you know, as a pro, show the process of trying something new and different and experimenting. And, you know, this is the exploration that I like and I enjoy, and going down these rabbit holes. And as you can see, a few times it worked really well. On that second hole there, third hole, I flew the ball out of bounds on the tee shot. Could have been a switch between like a more accurate technique to a more kind of power aesthetics technique. So maybe I just kind of got caught between techniques, which this does make it more of a challenge to play. When you're making changes three-dimensionally, it does make it more challenging, I think, because you have to think, you need to be a little bit more in subconscious, I think, it makes it easier when you can go on autopilot. You can detach a little bit more from your human self a little bit and get into this one-dimensional space and play in this one-dimensional space. So as far as performance goes, I didn't fail. I was doing some things, but I don't know, I might give myself a D for performance. But I do think this is worth poking at some more, exploring some more. Again, this is the first time I'm a beginner at trying this, I don't know if anyone else has ever tried doing this or thought to do this or had the awareness to do this. So it is, I don't know, like the pioneer going out to sea at the ocean here. It's like in uncharted territories, so there's a little bit of nervousness and trepidation and discomfort, I guess, with doing that and trying that. But I do think this is worth exploring more, for sure, and practicing more. A+ again, performance, A+ courage, D performance, worth practicing some more, worth trying some more. Hope you enjoyed this video.